Thors, on the training grounds of Coronado, where legends are shaped under the brutal sun. A woman walked quietly across the sand, unnoticed, unimportant, or so they thought. She wasn't a SEAL, she wasn't military. Just a contractor, hired to replace the bullet-torn targets after the real warriors were done. But sometimes, the people no one sees carry the stories no one expects, and that day, on that sun-scorched range, she was about to rewrite hers. The afternoon sun baked the range, turning the metal targets into shimmering ghosts in the distance. Gunfire cracked like distant thunder, a familiar rhythmic sound she'd grown used to. She walked down range with a stack of fresh paper targets tucked under her arm. This was her routine. A simple, forgettable job, but then, the gunfire stopped. It wasn't the normal pause, the kind of silence that says, someone is downrange, hold your fire. No, this silence felt heavier. It felt curious, focused. She turned her head slowly. 12 Navy SEALs stood still behind the firing line. Their shoulders were carved from battle, their eyes honed by chaos. And all of them, every single one, were staring directly at her. The weight of their gaze was a physical thing, pressing down on her as she tore away the old, shredded targets. She tried to ignore it, to just focus on the task, get in and get out. But when she turned around to head back, one of them stepped forward. It wasn't loud or flashy. He had salt and pepper hair, and years of command were etched into his posture. He was a leader, and he didn't need to say a word to prove it. In his hands, he held a rifle. He unslung it, held it out to her, and gave a slight nod. It was a silent challenge. Her heart pounded in her chest. She had no rank, no trident, no business holding a SEAL's weapon. Every rational thought screamed at her to step back, to shake her head and walk away. But in the back of her mind, her father's voice whispered, "You don't shrink, kiddo. Not when it matters. You step up, and you take the shot." She reached out and took the rifle. It was warm from the SEAL's grip, heavier than she expected. 12 elite warriors watched her, their arms folded across their chests, waiting to see if she would break, if this little test would be too much. She found her stance, planting her feet in the sand. She pressed her cheek against the stock, and the world narrowed to a single sight picture. One breath in, one out. Crack. The round punched a hole dead center in the fresh target. Silence. Not the silence of disbelief, and certainly not mockery. It was the silence of respect. She shifted her aim. Crack, another center hit. Crack, another. By the time she lowered the rifle, the entire range was still. The silence wasn't filled with doubt anymore. It was filled with recognition. The tall SEAL who handed her the rifle arched an eyebrow. "Not bad," he said, the words carrying across the quiet range. Not bad for someone who was just replacing targets. She handed the rifle back, her hands steady, her breath even. She thought that was the end of it. A strange, fleeting moment. It wasn't. That night, as she was packing up her gear, she heard boots crunching on the gravel behind her. It was him. "You shoot like you've been doing it your whole life," he said, his voice calm, analytical. She just shrugged. "My dad taught me. But not with rifles like yours." He studied her for a moment, not with amusement or mockery, but like he was trying to solve a puzzle. Then he said something she didn't know would change everything. "Skill is skill, and you've got it." Days turned into weeks. The dynamic on the range shifted. Whenever she walked out to change the targets, the SEALs no longer looked past her. Sometimes they just watched. Sometimes they challenged her. A pistol one day, a long-range rifle the next. Then it was close-quarters carbines, moving and shooting. Each time, she rose to the challenge. Each time, their nods of approval grew slower, deeper. She wasn't trying to prove anything to them. She was just being the girl. Her father raised the girl who never shrank when the world tried to make her small. Then came the real test. Moving targets, a limited number of rounds, and an unforgiving wind whipping across the range. It was a drill designed to expose weakness, to separate the good from the elite. She stepped onto the line. The buzzer sounded. She moved. Crack, crack. Every shot was precise. Her body flowed with a rhythm she didn't even know she had. a dance between sight, breath, and trigger pull. When the final target dropped, smoke curled in the air like a closing curtain on a performance. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then, a low whistle cut through the air. The tall SEAL stepped forward again. "Most civilians can't do what you just did," he said, his voice laced with genuine surprise. She finally allowed herself a faint smile. "Good thing I'm not most civilians." She never became a SEAL. She never wore their trident. But on those dusty training grounds, she earned something just as rare: their respect. Looking back months later, she realized it was never about the shots. It was never about the weapons. It was about stepping forward when every instinct told her to step back. Her father's voice still echoed in her memory, clear as day. "You don't shrink, kiddo. You take the shot." And she did. She always would. If stories of courage, grit, and the heroes hidden in plain sight inspire you, then don't leave without hitting that subscribe button. Your one click helps us bring more powerful stories like this to life. Like the video, share it with someone who needs a little motivation today, and join our family of everyday warriors. Thank you for watching.